copies of his books have been sold. His personal mission statement is helping people release their full God-given potential. That's not a bad mission statement, is it? So I want you to welcome Christian, would you?
Now we are in the midst of our seminar in Auckland and have arranged all participants according to their empowerment test. And it's so moving again to see that all the tools, all the principles, all the power, all the energies that we need is already represented in this very room. At our conference today, many participants were very interested in the concept of the energies that play a major role in our community tools, and I expect this concept to play a chief role in the development of the NCD paradigm in the next few years, if not beyond. So what are these energies all about? I discovered them when dealing with the 7 deadly sins, that behind each of these sins there is a specific energy that fuels them. So I started regarding these energies as the root evil, as something that has to be extinguished. Only later I realized that it is the same energy that can fuel both the 7 deadly sins and the respective communal qualities. So I started to speak about these energies as something neutral. It took even more time before I realized that nothing that God has created is neutral. It is good. Actually, according to Genesis, it is very good. So these energies are God-given gifts, and we misuse them when we apply them according to the path of isolation, as we call it, which leads to the 7 deadly sins. A problem when dealing with these energies is that in our usual Bible translations, in English or German or Danish or Spanish, whatever, we don't find this terminology. So we are tempted to regard the concept of the energies as a non-biblical category. But in fact, it is a central biblical category. In order to explain it to the participants, I referred them to this slide. So what I did is that I went together with the participants through a plethora of different Bible passages that all of us are familiar with, without necessarily seeing the biblical concept of the energies behind it. Just have a look at it. In Ephesians 4:16, we read, "From whom the whole body, being fitted and held together by what every joint supplies, according to the proper working," an energy term behind it, "of each individual part, causes the growth of the body for the building up of itself in love." Or look at this, Philippians 2:13. "For it is God who is at work, energon, in you, both to will and to work, energein, for his good pleasure." And it goes on and 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 on, and I could give many more examples. My goal at this point was not to give a deep exegesis of all of these verses, but simply to show that the fact that we may not be familiar with the biblical concept of the energies has nothing to do with Scripture, but simply with our Bible translations. The centrality of the concept of the energies can wonderfully be illustrated by looking at 1 Corinthians 12:6, which starts at verse 4 with a statement, "There are different varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit." In NCD we would say the color blue. "There are different varieties of service, but the same Lord," the color red. And then it goes on, "There are different varieties of workings." Well, what are these workings all about? The Greek term energematon means the results of the energy in our lives. But the same God who works, the same term, all things in all persons. Once I realized the centrality of the biblical teaching on energies on the one hand, and the practical relevance of this teaching for church development on the other hand, I asked myself, how could we be so blind for such a long time?